So as I said you, we need four prerequisites to undergo this course, and mhm. One is the guy should have an overview and basic knowledge on the networking concepts. So one is networking. Second prerequisite required is like under this networking concepts, what we'll do is we'll have completely two classes on this networking concepts where we'll discuss about this from scratch, like we'll discuss about the IP addresses and different classes of IP addresses, how they divided in this, and here we'll talk about the switches, routers, and here we'll talk about the how to create this LAN range, CADR range. We'll talk about the subnetting concepts. Okay, so because we required these concepts to know, because with Amazon Web Services Cloud, uh, we'll create a LANs there, like in order to launch the servers, in order to make the communication of servers with each other. So we required some LAN connectivity. So what the initial step of while we going with Amazon Web Services console or the services is, first we have to create a LAN with in cloud computing with Amazon Web Services. For this, we should know before what exactly this router is. There we'll create a router. There we'll create a LAN range, subnets. We'll divide that range into subnets. So before that, we should have some knowledge on what exactly this router is and gateways and TNT, what is routing principles, and we'll also discuss about how to write these route tables. Okay. Uh, for this, it takes 2 days of classes only. And the second concept is the guy should have a knowledge on virtualization concepts. So he should know what exactly is virtualization is. So what are the types of virtualization available? I will take an examples of them. I will talk about it. What are the benefits and features of virtualization? Okay. How this Amazon Web Services is using this virtualization. On the back end, the Amazon Web Services data centers are completely, they build their data centers completely on virtualization. And okay, so there will launch the virtual machines. So we'll talk about this virtualization concept in one class, and then we'll talk about the storage. So what are the types of storage? How this Amazon Web Services divided these storages into different types, and what are all the services they are providing for these storages. We'll talk about this also in one class. Next, we'll talk about some basic commands of Linux. So with Amazon Web Services, we launched the servers, right? So here we not only launch this Windows or Linux Windows servers, we even launch with this Linux servers. So after launching the Linux servers, you have to connect to the servers and you have to check the connectivity, whether the server is able to connect the client or not. Like that, you have to SSH into the server, and from there here you have here in this course we have to, it's like we'll get a scenarios to uh, deploy the web server on that Linux machines. So we'll do that in this course, and deploying this data, building up database servers on this Linux machine. For deploying this, you should have some minimum knowledge on basic Linux commands. So we'll teach this also in this course. Next, then after completing all these four prerequisites, so it might take 1 week for us, like might be 6 classes, 5 to 6 classes for completing these four topics. Then we'll enter into this Amazon Web Services Cloud Computing console part. So uh, today we'll start our class with choosing a topic of virtualization. So let me tell you about this virtualization. So what exactly is virtualization? So guys, have you heard this movies like మన English movies లో కానీ people used to say virtual. Guys, do you have any idea of this virtualization, virtual meaning? So virtual అంటే ఏంటి అంటే, it's like the physical thing ఉన్నది లేనట్టు కనిపించడం. Sorry, reverse I said. లేనిది ఉన్నట్టు కనిపించడం. సో బేసికల్లీ ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే యూ మైట్ అబ్జర్వ్ ఇన్ సమ్ ఇంగ్లీష్ మూవీస్, ఎక్కడో హీరో ఉంటారు కానీ అతని ఇమేజ్ వచ్చేసి మన ముందు ఉంటుంది. సో వర్చువల్లీ వీ కెన్ సీ హిమ్. Similarly, on the cloud computing, on the back end of these data centers, what they did is they introduced this virtualization concept. They divided the physical server. Let us assume you had a physical box of 250 GB RAM and 2 TB of hard disk. Physical server ante it's a box, and a physical box which we can see, we can touch, and we can feel it. So above the physical server, what you'll install the operating system, right? And then you'll install the virtualization software. So that this software, what it does is it divides the physical box capacity, this 250 GB and 2 TB of hard disk, the capacity, into small virtual machines, and we launch a virtual machines above it. అంటే ఒక ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్ని we are dividing into multiple virtual servers. So your physical box will have, like, maybe you wanted to launch 10 virtual machines with the help of this virtualization software, and you want to divide this complete 250 GB RAM into for this 10 virtual machines. అంటే you wanted to provide 25 GB RAM to this one virtual machine. Like that, you can create n number of virtual machines that is equivalent to the physical box resource capacity. Here I was just specifying this RAM and hard disk. Like apart from this RAM, hard disk, you'll consider this Ethernet ports. Everything will comes into consideration. So this is what I just wanted to know, what exactly is virtualization, how we are using this virtualization on the servers. So we use this virtualization concept to divide the physical box into small virtual machines, so that we can allocate these virtual machines to different purposes. Might be you design one virtual machine for web server, you design one virtual machine for database server, you'll design one virtual machine as a centralized server for storing the code. It's up to you how you wanted to use that. సో ఇది ఈ వర్చువలైజేషన్ కాన్సెప్ట్ లేకుంటే ఒకటే ఫిజికల్ బాక్స్, ఒకటే ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంటుంది, దాంట్లో సాఫ్ట్వేర్స్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తాం. లెట్ us assume you want 2 Tomcat servers, 2 వెబ్ సర్వర్స్ కావాలండి. కానీ మీకు you don't need this 250 GB of RAM for that. Just you wanted to two web servers, Tomcat servers with just 10 GB of RAM and 100 GB of hard disk. సో దానికోసం అని ఒక ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్ పెట్టలేం కదా. సో వర్చువలైజేషన్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అంటే ఏంటి అంటే just simple, let us draw a graph of x and y axis. So assume that బేసికల్గా కంపెనీస్లో ఎలా అవుతుందంటే every resource lifespan they'll calculate it for 3 years on big MNC companies. So after the 3 years, whatever the condition of the physical server or the resources, we better call it as resources, servers, printers, ఏదైనా కానివ్వండి, హార్డ్ డిస్క్ కానివ్వండి. సో వాట్ ఎవర్ ద కండిషన్ ఆఫ్ ద రిసోర్సెస్, ద ఫిజికల్ రిసోర్సెస్, వాట్ దే విల్ డూ, దే విల్ చేంజ్ ఇట్. వాళ్ళ పాత తీసేసి కొత్తది పెడతారండి. దే విల్ కాపీ ద డేటా ఫ్రమ్ ద ఓల్డ్ సర్వర్ టు న్యూ సర్వర్, బికాస్ దే కెప్ట్ యాజ్ ఎ 3 years as a lifespan for every resource. So let us assume you have procured some server, that 250 GB and 2 TB of physical box with paying some 2 lakhs amount. So from the day one onwards, do you think that you can utilize this server to maximum level? ఒక సర్వర్ తీసుకున్నారండి, అంత పెద్ద సర్వర్ తీసుకుని దాంట్లో you made that server as an centralized server for storing the code. So do you utilize that server from the day one onwards to its 100%? No. As the day, ఒక రోజు రెండు రోజులు, as the day goes, you'll store the data on that server and you'll start using the compute of that server or the hard disk of that server. So గ్రాఫ్ అనేది ఇలా ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది టు సమ్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్టెంట్, ఏదో ఒక రోజు. సో యుల్ ఫీల్ దట్ యూటిలైజ్ దట్ సర్వర్ టు మ్యాక్సిమం లెవెల్ ఆర్ 100%. దెన్ యుల్ గో ఫర్ న్యూ ప్రొక్యూర్మెంట్. అంటే ఇదంతా యూటిలైజేషన్ పార్ట్ అండి. సో వాట్ అబౌట్ దిస్ రిమైనింగ్ పార్ట్? ఈవెన్ దో యూ పేడ్ ద అమౌంట్ బిఫోర్ యూ యూటిలైజింగ్ before you doing something with that server. Munde 2 lakhs pay చేశారు and you procure the server, but from the day on one onwards you are not utilizing that server to complete maximum level. So this is all the wastage. To overcome these wastages, we got a concept called virtualization. So ఈ వేస్టేజ్ ని ఓవర్కమ్ చేయడానికి we introduced a concept called virtualization technology. So with the help of this virtualization technology, we'll utilize that whatever the physical block, the server, whatever the resources to maximum level. So the basic principal agenda of virtualization is to utilize the resource to maximum level. For that, we introduced this virtualization concept. On this concept only, this Amazon Web Services data centers, they built their data centers completely with the help of this virtualization. అంటే అక్కడ కూడా అంటే బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ లో అమెజాన్ గైస్ ఈస్ యూజింగ్ he'll have a big data centers, he'll have a big servers, and he has installed some virtualization software above that servers. And whenever you raise a request, మీకు ఒక సర్వర్ లాంచ్ చేయాలనుకోండి అమెజాన్లో, అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్లో, సో there you launch this virtual machine. He'll launch virtual machines and he'll provide that virtual machine to you as per your requirement. Whether you wanted to the virtual server, the virtual machines to be with 2 GB of RAM or with 200 GB of hard disk, depending upon your requirement, you launch your server with Amazon Web Services Cloud Data Center and start utilizing it. And the best part of Amazon Web Services is you pay to the server. Launch చేసినందుకు we have to pay some amount, no? So you make the payment to the Amazon Web Services, this cloud guys, with on-demand pricing. On-demand pricing ante enti ante, let me tell you. So if you utilize your server for 1 hour, just pay for that hour. ఆ hour కే pay చేయండి. See, in some scenarios, let us assume ఒక ఎంటర్ప్రీనర్స్ ఉన్నారండి, ఇద్దరు ముగ్గురు ఉన్నారు, they wanted to develop some product. So is it mandatory that they need the complete server to be hosted at their office premises or home premises and ఆ server ని 24 hours రన్ చేయాలి? It's a very huge task for them. So with Amazon Web Services, if you want, see, developer cannot work for complete 24 hours a day. Might be 8 hours or maximum to 12 hours. So what about the remaining hours? తను 8 hours 10 hours వర్క్ చేస్తే why should I on my server for the remaining 14 hours? So, and power off your servers and pay only for that particular 8 or 10 hours what you utilized your server on hour basis. This is what we call it as on-demand pricing. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే ఎప్పుడైతే రిసోర్సెస్ అమెజాన్లో నాట్ ఓన్లీ ద సర్వర్స్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ద రిసోర్సెస్ యూటిలైజ్ విత్ అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్, it's up to you whether you wanted to pay it with on-demand pricing or reserved pricing. Reserved pricing అంటే ఏంటి అంటే, no, you know that నేను ఈ సర్వర్ with 8 GB of RAM and 200 GB of hard disk, I'll utilize this server for complete 1 year. ఎందుకంటే I wanted to host my website on that server and I wanted to make that website live to the clients. So I'll utilize that server for the complete 1 year. If you know that, మీకు తెలుసు you need a server, and on such scenarios you go with reserved pricing. అంటే you'll reserve the complete server ని for 1 year. బెనిఫిట్ ఏంటి అంటే ప్రైజింగ్ అండి. ఆన్ డిమాండ్ హవర్ బేసిస్ ప్రైస్ చేస్తే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక 1 అవర్కి సేమ్ సర్వర్ ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ పేయింగ్ $2, if you reserve that server for complete 1 year, you can reduce that pricing to 40%. So it's just an overview of about the pricing. I will talk about this in detail on the class. I'll show you the comparison sheets and everything. So right now we are talking with virtualization concept. So basically we use this virtualization to utilize the resource to maximum level. So we had basically two types of virtualization, and we call it as type A and type B virtualization.
We call it as type A and type B?
Yes. Type A or type B or type 1 or type 2, it's up to you.
Yeah, Okay.
So what is the difference between this type 1 and type 2 or type A, type B? So let me tell you. Uh, Let us assume you have procured one server, the physical box, and on type 1, above the physical box, all you do, you'll just install this virtualization software. మార్కెట్లో టైప్ 1 ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఏంటి అంటే we had VMware, EXXI, so Xen, Hyper-V. Hyper-V is a product virtualization software of this Microsoft అండి, and VMware is VMware companies. సో ఇదేంటి అంటే, సో బేసికల్గా రైట్ నో వాట్ type A, type B difference ఏంటి అంటే, above the hardware you will install this virtualization software, and above the virtualization software you will install this virtual machines with type A, so that when it comes to type B, above the hardware you will install the operating system, and above the operating system you will install the virtualization software, and above the virtualization software, with the help of that virtualization software, you will launch the virtual machines. అంటే the basic difference between this type A and type B is you are getting the host operating system. ఆ physical box కి operating system install చేస్తాం కదా, that you are getting an extra additional layer in type B when it compared to type A. So here in type 2, let us assume you had a physical box of 20 GB RAM and 500 GB hard disk. ఇక్కడ you are not only providing the resources RAM and hard disk of this physical box to this virtual machines, here you have to provide some of this resource to this host operating system also. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే, ఇక్కడ ఈ host operating system crash అయింది అనుకోండి, so for damn sure you'll crash the complete virtualization software and the VMs that are above the virtualization software. So complete the server will get crashed if there is a problem with host operating system. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి, you don't have this host operating system and your virtualization software is completely integrated. It's sat on this hardware directly. So here you don't need to provide some resource of the 20 GB RAM to this host operating system. అక్కడ అదొక బెనిఫిట్. ఇంకోటి క్రాష్ ఛాన్సెస్ అనేది చాలా లెస్గా ఉంటుంది. సో we'll suggest for server rooms or data centers, we'll go with type A virtualization అండి. For R&Ds, and let us assume uh, if you want to perform some R&Ds at your laptops by launching these virtual machines, then I'll suggest you to go with type 2. See, right away I do have an virtualization software, an Oracle virtual box అని ఒక virtualization software. It is free software. On my laptop I install it as, so basically my laptop is in physical thing. Above that I had an operating system Windows 10. Above this operating system Windows 10 I installed the software called Oracle Virtual Box. So with the help of this Oracle Virtual Box, what I did, I launched virtual machines. Four virtual machines, and నా ల్యాప్టాప్ వచ్చేసి configuration, it's 8 GB RAM. So let me open the task manager. So out of this 8 GB RAM I was utilizing only 3.6 GB, 4 GB, so remaining 4.2 GB are free. So what I did is, so 4 GB na host operating system అంటే నా physical box, నా laptop operating system is utilizing. Here this host operating system is utilizing, so remaining 4 GB is free. With the help of this remaining 4 GB I can launch the virtual machines with the help of this virtualization software or Oracle Virtual Box Manager.
Hey, Raj, 1 second, man. Leela, I couldn't, hear your voice actually.
Okay,
So where would be the problem actually? She's unable to hear your voice. Is there a
just
problem with this mic? Or it's like, or is there something you need to do?
is maybe there is a problem with internet connectivity. How much time you haven't heard my voice? It's for a minute also.
Yes, okay. You pinged in chat itself. Okay. Let's see.
What
Let
is
me
what
proceed.
is your net speed, Madhu?
I think today we have around 100 Mbps.
Oh, that's a very good high speed.
Pause for 1 second. I'll try to call you up and we can engage. Okay.
Okay. If you had any problems with this mic or audio, just in the chat session, just leave me a message. Okay. So with the help of this virtualization software, Oracle VirtualBox Manager, I launched 4 virtual machines. And launch చేసిన వెంటనే it doesn't mean that it will utilize my virtual machine. See, right away, let us see one virtual machine. I click on it, go for settings. While creating the virtual machine, I specified that what kind of operating system I wanted to launch, Linux or Windows. Under Linux, what are all these different flavors available? So Linux operating system we had different flavors, and we can call it as distributions. So basically Linux లో టాప్ అండ్ categorizations ఏంటి అంటే one is Debian based operating systems and Red Hat based operating systems. ఏంటి, what is this Debian and Red Hat? What is this? Karthik is pulling me from this virtualization topic to Linux అని you might be confused. Let me tell you. 1990s 1980s లో people started creating this operating systems, and it's a very back scenario. From the Unix, we came up in a new operating system called Linux. On the Linux is operating system ఏంటి అంటే it is developed by some community people, open source software. అంటే they wanted to provide this operating system for free to the world. With that agenda, some communities came up and they called themselves as open source communities, and they created one operating system and they gave that operating system to everyone. Even they give the complete source code of that operating system, they kept it in website and they made it for free to everybody, so that whoever wants, they can pull that operating system code and they can modify their operating system and they can launch the new operating system as per their requirement. Like that, a lot of small organization came into existence. Guys, give me a second. Okay, where are we? We are talking about this Linux distributions. So a small open source communities ఏం చేశారంటే వీళ్ళు డిజైన్ చేసిన లైనక్స్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ని కూడా దే టుక్ ఇట్ అండ్ దే మోడిఫైడ్ యాజ్ పర్ దేర్. అంటే చాలా ఓపెన్ సోర్స్ కమ్యూనిటీస్ వచ్చాయి. కమ్యూనిటీ వాళ్ళు తీసుకొని వాళ్ళకి తగ్గట్టు వాళ్ళు ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ మోడిఫై చేసుకొని వాళ్ళ నేమ్స్ పెట్టుకొని డిఫరెంట్గా చాలా మార్కెట్లో ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్ వచ్చాయి. కాకపోతే మెయిన్గా ఏంటి అంటే Debian and Red Hat based flavors, we call it as distributions, are most famous in the market. And Debian lo, we had examples of Debian based operating systems, or the distributions we call it as. Our flavors are Ubuntu is very famous, and Red Hat lo, you know that Red Hat, CentOS and Fedora. ఈ మూడు కూడా operating systems was developed by this Red Hat people. Red Hat is an organization. So వాళ్ళు ఏం చేశారంటే they developed an operating system, Fedora, and they gave that operating system to most of the institutes and organizations, ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్కి ఇచ్చి మీరు ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ మీద వర్క్ చేయడం స్టార్ట్ చేయండి. ఏమైనా బగ్స్ ఉంటే ఆ బగ్స్ పోస్ట్ చేయండి. ఆ బగ్స్ మేము రెక్టిఫై చేస్తూ దే లాంచ్డ్ అండ్ అనదర్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ అండ్ దట్ ఈస్ CentOS. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ డిఫరెంట్ ఫ్లేవర్ ఆఫ్ రెడ్ హ్యాట్ ఆర్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ రెడ్ హ్యాట్. ఆ టెర్మినాలజీ మారుతుంటుంది. డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్స్, ఫ్లేవర్స్. ఓకే, అండ్ CentOS లో కూడా ఏం చేశారు, ఆఫ్టర్ ప్రొవైడింగ్ ద CentOS operating system to free to the world, again they said the people start using on working this start working on this CentOS, come back to with any bugs are there, just reply to us. And దాంట్లో bugs fix చేస్తూ వచ్చింది Red Hat. Red Hat operating system is a paid version of Linux operating system. CentOS and Fedora are free operating systems. They given this operating system to public for free. ఎవరు ఈ రెడ్ హ్యాట్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ వాళ్ళు. ఓకే, సో బేసికల్గా while launching this Oracle VirtualBox or most of the virtualization softwares, while creating these virtual machines, by default వాళ్ళు డిఫైన్ చేశారు లైనక్స్లో ఇవన్నీ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్ ఉన్నాయండి. If you whatever the operating system you wanted to go with, Gentoo, Mandriva, Red Hat, Turbo Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, just specify it. ఆ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ లేకుంటే just go for other Linux. And what kind of operating system you wanted to install, 32-bit or 64-bit? Because if you provide this 32-bit and 64 this information to it, so that this virtualization software will create a virtualization motherboard. మీ motherboard ఒక virtualization software motherboard create చేస్తుందండి. So that whatever the software or the operating system you are installing about this virtual machine will install it correctly. అదే ఇక్కడ మీరు రాంగ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇచ్చారనుకోండి, Ubuntu అని చెప్పి you try to launch this Red Hat operating system, there may be some incompatibility issues of this software, the operating system when it is dealing with this hardware, the virtualization hardware that is created by this Oracle Virtual Machine Manager. So provide the required thing while creating this virtual machine. We'll talk about this on the next class in detail. So నేను ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే my basic agenda of saying all this is, with the help of the virtualization software, with the help of type 2 in my laptop, I installed one virtualization software, Oracle Virtual Manager. With the help of that virtualization software, I launched the virtual machines. So పవర్ ఆఫ్ లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆ వర్చువల్ మిషన్స్ ఉంటాయి కదండి, మై host operating system or my physical box will consider that as just a files. అది ఆన్ లో అయిన వెంటనే my utilization will get increased. See, right away I provided for this virtual machine 2 GB of RAM and some 50 GB of hard disk to it. Right click, settings, system, total out of 8 GB I provided only 2 GB of RAM for this virtual machine. And processes, right away I had 4 virtual CPU processors with my laptop. On that I have provided 1 virtual CPU for it. So whenever I launch, out of these 4 virtual CPUs, this virtual machine starts utilizing only 1 virtual CPU, and మిగతా 3 వచ్చేసి నా హోస్ట్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్కి ఉంటాయి. ఏంటంటే ఇది ఆన్ చేసినప్పుడే this virtual machine will utilize the resource what you provided here while creating the virtual machine. Okay, and you can scale up. See, let us assume మీరు ఒక 1 hour యూజ్ చేశారు and you wanted to scale up your size, compute scale up చేయాలనుకుంటున్నారు, మెమరీ పెంచాలనుకుంటున్నారు, just change it to 2048. If you want to increase it to 4 GB, 4096. Okay, and start the machine. How fast it is changing, we are changing with the help of this virtualization software. అదే నార్మల్గా అయితే ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్లో ఉంటే ఆ ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్ని ఆఫ్ చేసి ఆ స్క్రూస్ ఇప్పి క్యాబిన్ ఇప్పి దాంట్లో ర్యామ్స్ ప్లేస్ చేసి ఇట్స్ ఎ వెరీ బిగ్ time taken process. So with the help of this virtualization software, you can scale up your virtual machine size. Scale up అంటే increase your virtual machine size as per your requirement. Increase what to increase, whether the hard disk of the virtual machine or the RAM of the virtual machine or the compute of the virtual machine. Compute అంటే ఏంటి అంటే RAM and processor will call it as compute అండి. Okay, you can scale up as per your requirement. To what maximum level? ఈ ఫిజికల్ బాక్స్ కెపాసిటీ ఎంతో అంతవరకు అండి. ఓకే, దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆఫ్ టైప్ 2. Guys, any doubts on this type 2 or type 1 virtualization thing? I was not much explaining because you're all experienced guys, and I hope you know about this thing, and I hope you have worked on these things also. But for as a formality, we should talk about it, right? So any doubts? You had any doubts on this different types of virtualization? Any questions you had, you can ask me. Just unmute your mic and ask me. No doubts. So basically we use this virtualization to utilize the resource to maximum level. That is the first point. The second point is virtualization is divided into two types, type A or type B, or type 1 or type 2. The basic difference between this, the most difference between this both types are you'll have the host operating between your physical hardware and the virtual manager. So with the help of that virtual manager or virtualization software, you'll launch the virtual machines. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే VMM అంటే ఏంటి అంటే వర్చువల్ మిషన్ మేనేజర్ అండి. సో దిస్ వర్చువల్ మిషన్ మేనేజర్ will manage your hardware and it will launch the virtual machines as per your requirement. While creating this virtual machine to the software, you provided 2 GB or 4 GB or 100 GB of hard disk, 200 GB hard disk. How many Ethernet internets cards? How do you want to get this internet? Through wider, wireless, everything. So when you power on this machine, with apart from this, your physical box and the host operating system above the physical box, it will provide whatever the resource you have, resource allocation you provided for this virtual machine, it will start consuming that too. And your utilization of complete will get increased. Okay? ఎంతవరకు యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు until unless you reach your physical box capacity to maximum level. So with this we are utilizing our resource to maximum level, and we are justifying the graph what we have drawn, right? X-axis, y-axis low. You're justifying this graph part, the wastage part. Okay, ఒక్కొక్క సర్వర్ కి ఒక్కొక్క సాఫ్ట్వేర్ కి ఒక్కొక్క వర్క్ కి ఒక్కొక్క ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్ కొనాలంటే చాలా ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ అండి. సో వాట్ విల్ డూ, విల్ బై ఎ వెరీ హై అండ్ సర్వర్ and we'll divide that high end server into small virtual machines, and we'll provide that virtual machines to one purposes. Okay, this is what about this virtualization. And if you want I want you to guys install this Oracle VirtualBox free software on the type 2 virtualization software. Download it from this Oracle website and install this virtualization software at your PCs and try to launch this virtual machines. Flavors you Ubuntu or Windows, it's up to you. And for doing this all the process, I'll share this knowledge base article with you, how to install this Oracle virtual machine type B virtualization software in your laptop, and how to launch these virtual machines. Just, or you can find it, just Google it, you can find the documents too.
So, Karthik, so what we are using in companies is type B, right? It is
No,
depending upon
we
location.
use type 1 in company on data centers. On the back end of
Okay.
Amazon Web Services also, on his data center also, he is using the type 1. And we recommend the type 1
Okay.
only. In type 2, we had some
Okay.
failover cases, right? If there is
Yeah.
something
Okay.
problem with this host operating system, the complete virtual machine
Yeah.
VMM will get destroyed, and the virtual machines above that VMM
Will
will
be
get
crashed.
destroyed. Yes.
Okay. But what we are using now, like I think what we are using now is
On, on
depending upon the like, type 2 one.
yes, on our laptops, home desktops, we'll use
Yeah.
type. Okay.
Type 2.
You because I have to work daily with my operating system, as well as when I required for R&Ds, if I want 2 to 3 servers, I cannot procure the two to three servers and I'll host it on my home, right? So what I'll do, I'll just install this virtualization software, and whatever the capacity of my laptop or desktops, you'll divide that into as per your requirement and launch it and just fulfill your requirement and stop it.
Yeah.
For R&Ds, such kind of things, we'll go with type 2.
Okay.
But for data centers, such kind of things, we'll recommend this type 1.
Nice
So
one. Thank
the
you.
example softwares of this type 1 and type 2 are Xen, VMware ESX Server, Hyper-V, Microsoft's. These are the examples of famous, అంటే ఇంకా చాలా ఉన్నాయండి మార్కెట్లో. ఉన్న దాంట్లో put the
Yeah.
best some of these softwares of type 1. And type 2 examples are KVM, VMware Workstation, Oracle, Oracle VirtualBox.
Yeah. We are working with VMware workstations actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So on the back end also, Amazon Web Services is using the type 1. So again, what ఏం చేస్తాడంటే uh, while you're creating or launching the servers with this type 1 of instances, we call it as servers ని మనం AWS లో ఏమంటామంటే the terminology changes, we call it as instances. So
Mm.
when you are launching an instances with Amazon Web Services, you cannot say నాకు 8 GB of RAM కావాలి with 200 GB of hard disk అని మీరు చూస్ చేసుకోలేరండి. అంటే నాకు 4 virtual CPUs కావాలి అని. So he basically divided these VMs into different instance types. From that, whatever the types that are available with Amazon Web Services, from that types you can launch the virtual machines. Let me show you AWS instance types. So these are all the available instance types. T2 dot mic nano అని ఒక నేమ్ పెట్టాడు. దానికి ఏం పెట్టాడు? 1 virtual CPU and 500 GB RAM. అంటే compute. We're talking about only compute. Compute అంటే ఏంటి అంటే it indicates virtual CPU, the processor and memory. Storage is different. We'll have another service with Amazon Web Service, and we call that service as Elastic Block Storage. So we use this EBS, Elastic Block Storage, for attaching this storage to this compute. So let us assume I want, నాకు ఒక scenario I need 6 GB or 4 GB of RAM and 2 virtual CPUs is enough for my requirement. నేను ఒక వెబ్ సర్వర్ లాంచ్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నాను, దాంట్లో ఒక వెబ్సైట్ పెట్టాలనుకుంటున్నాను. ఆ వెబ్ సర్వర్ వచ్చేసి ఒక 4 GB ర్యామ్ ఉండి 2 వర్చువల్ సిపియూస్ ఉంటే సరిపోతుందండి. దెన్ గో విత్ T2 dot medium. On this T2 dot medium, he's giving you 2 virtual CPUs and 4 GB RAM and storage వచ్చేసి EBS. I'll tell you what is EBS and what are the type of storages. Storage లో టైప్స్ ఉంటాయి. అసలు ఏంటి హార్డ్ డిస్క్ ఏంటి, స్పిన్ హార్డ్ డిస్క్ ఏంటి, SSDs అంటే ఏంటి, విల్ టాక్ ఇట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద స్క్రాచ్ ఆల్సో దేర్ on the class. సో ఇక్కడ different types ఉన్నాయి. T2 for one scenario he's given for T2, and next comes to M. M లో కూడా 4 GB ఉందండి, 2 వర్చువల్ సిపియూస్ అండ్ 8 GB ర్యామ్ ఉంది. అండ్ టీలో కూడా 2 వర్చువల్ సిపియూస్ అండ్ 8 GB ర్యామ్ టైప్ కూడా ఉంది. ఏంటి మళ్ళీ డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి T2కి M4కి? ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ ప్రొవైడింగ్ ద సేమ్ కంప్యూట్ స్పెసిఫికేషన్స్ విత్ దిస్ వర్చువల్ సిపియూస్ అండ్ ర్యామ్, ఏంటి అంటే అన్ ద బ్యాక్ హ్యాండ్ ఆ ఫిజికల్ సర్వర్ తను కొంటాడు, దాన్ని ప్రొక్యూర్ చేసుకుంటాడు కదండి అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్. Here he'll procure such a way that we'll mostly use these T2 purposes for launching the web servers, and M3 for launching the database servers. If you want to build database server with Amazon Web Services, just launch this M3 kind of instance. Above that, you install your database software and make it as a database software, database server. అలా some people will use databases, some people will use build web servers, and some people want this compute, high compute. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే కాంబినేషన్ వేరే ఉంటుందండి. 4 virtual CPUs, 8 GB RAM. If you want server with high compute and less RAM, then go with this C4. Different. Just go through this page, you'll understand what is this comparisons. Just read it. What is this X1 and T? If you want to launch the servers with large scale enterprise classes with memory applications with low RAM, low memory and very high actual CPUs, like చాలా పెద్ద సర్వర్ లాంచ్ చేయాలి. See, ఇక్కడ వాడు ఎంత ఇస్తున్నాడంటే 128 వర్చువల్ CPUs ఇన్స్టెన్స్ అండ్ 2000 RAM. అంత పెద్ద సర్వర్ లాంచ్ చేయొచ్చండి with the help of this Amazon Web Services. So you can launch a server with one virtual CPU and 512 MB RAM నుంచి you can launch a server, I mean instance, to 2000 GB of RAM. అలా టైప్స్ డివైడ్ చేశాడు. And might be some people wanted to launch server and they wanted to host some gaming website or some gaming on that server. In such scenarios, whatever the physical box ఏదైతే ఉందో ఆ physical box it should have some graphic card. Okay, then you go with some different types. See, on the SP2 type you'll have NVIDIA K86 GPU, graphical peripheral interface, అంటే గ్రాఫిక్ కార్డ్ ఉంటుంది దీనికి. దాంట్లో 3 types గా segregate చేశాడు. And if you want to perform with some software that deals with mostly graphics thing, then go with G2. సో ఇక్కడ కూడా గ్రాఫిక్ కార్డ్ ఉంటుందా ఆ కంప్యూటర్కి. 2 types, basically one virtual CPU, 8 virtual CPUs and 15 GB RAM, 32 virtual CPU and 60 GB RAM. Whatever you want, you go with it. So you have to choose from these instances types that are available with him. So he basically segregated this instances into different types. From the type, you choose one type and launch the type of the server with Amazon Web Services data center on their data center. Okay. అంతేగాని మనం ఇక్కడ మన టైప్ 2లో ఒరాకిల్లో ఇచ్చినట్టు లేదు, నాకు రైట్ క్లిక్ కొట్టి నాకు ర్యామ్ 4096 వద్దు 4000 కావాలి, ఇలా ఇంత కస్టమైజేషన్ చేసుకోలేమండి విత్ అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్. వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ టైప్స్ హీ ప్రొవైడెడ్ విత్ దట్ స్పెసిఫికేషన్స్, చూడండి మీకు ఏది బెస్ట్ సూట్ అవుతుంది, దగ్గరలో మీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్కి దగ్గరలో ఏది ఉంది, ఫ్రమ్ దట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ టైప్ యూ లాంచ్ విత్ అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్. ఓకే, because AWS is cloud computing company, this Oracle Virtual Box is a software. Backend లో వాళ్ళు backend లో ఏది వాడుతున్నారో he never revealed that, whether he is using VMware, Xen, or he might be have his own virtualization software. We don't know. Amazon guy on the backend what virtualization software he is using, he never reveal that secrets in press. ఎప్పుడు చెప్పలేదు. బట్ ఒకటైతే చెప్తాడు తను, I'll provide an SLA with you guys such a way that 99.9% your servers will be on uptime. I'll write a service lease agreement with you. He's ready to write a service lease agreement with you if you're launching the servers with his data centers. On some scenarios like geographical disaster, power failure on that local areas, అలాంటి కేసెస్లో nothing we cannot do. ఓవరాల్గా అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్ హ్యాస్ 13 regionsలో తన డేటా సెంటర్స్ ఉన్నాయండి గ్లోబల్గా. Let me share you the picture of it. Here it is. So throughout the globe he has 13 data centers, 13 regional data centers. సింగపూర్లో ఉంది, సిడ్నీలో ఉంది, సౌత్ అమెరికా వాళ్ళు అక్కడక్కడ he has data centers, and he has 2 data centers apart from this, and he gave the data centers to the one data center for this USA government. ఆ రీజియన్లో ఉన్న డేటా సెంటర్ మొత్తం గవర్నమెంట్ అక్వైర్ చేసుకుంది, ఒకటి వచ్చేసి నాసాకి ఇచ్చాడండి. అండ్ రీసెంట్లీ దే లాంచ్డ్ దేర్, ఒక 3 months బ్యాక్ దే లాంచ్డ్ దేర్ న్యూ డేటా సెంటర్ ఇన్ అవర్ ఇండియా ఎట్ ముంబై రీజియన్. అది ఇది ఇక్కడ లేదు. ఈ షీట్లో లేదు. ఓకే, ఫ్రమ్ వేర్ యూ వాంటెడ్ టు డెవలప్ యువర్ ప్రోడక్ట్ విత్ అమెజాన్ వెబ్ సర్వీసెస్. మనం ఇండియాలో ఉన్నాం కాబట్టి బెటర్ వి లాంచ్ అవర్ సర్వర్స్. మనకు దగ్గర డేటా సెంటర్ రీజన్స్ ఏమున్నాయి? సింగపూర్ ఉంది. దెన్ లాంచ్ ద సర్వర్స్ ఎట్ సింగపూర్. Even we had a data center at Mumbai. Then launch the servers at Mumbai. Why? Because your latency period will be very less. ఆ కనెక్టివిటీ లేటెన్సీ ఉంటుంది కదండి, అదనేది చాలా స్లోగా ఉంటుంది. అసలు లేటెన్సీ అంటే ఏంటి, టీటీఎల్ వాల్యూస్ అంటే ఏంటి, విల్ టాక్ అబౌట్ దిస్ ఇన్ నెట్వర్కింగ్ క్లాస్. సో in order to communicate your laptop with the server that is located at Mumbai data center, it has to cross multiple routers. It has to cross from your LAN to WAN. LAN and WAN and how will it cross? So how we'll set the hops for every packet, TTL for every packet. We'll talk about this complete OSL 7 models from from that scratch. We'll talk about on the networking class. Okay. So any doubts on this difference of this virtualization types and uses, scalability, time taken, human effort? These are all the benefits of this virtualization software by utilizing this. Guys, any doubts on this topic? Madhu, Raghu, Shekhar, you are good?
Yeah, good.
Okay. That's it for today's. What I'll do, I'll share some of this type 2 virtualization installation links to your mail IDs. Okay. If you have time, మీ ముగ్గురు specifically మీకు టైం ఉంటే try to launch this virtual machines on your laptops, because on the coming classes we are building this web servers, database servers build చేస్తాం కదా. On that scenarios it might help. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for today's class. And guys, I just wanted to create an WhatsApp group and Google groups for you, so that we'll have an common communication platform. Uh, I'll just share my mobile number. Uh, just ping me through WhatsApp on that, so that I'll create a group and we'll have. I hope everybody has the smartphones and WhatsApp installed, right?
Mhm.
I just messaged my mobile number on the start session. Just ping me with names, okay? So that we'll create a group. And Harita is
Yeah.
Nagobi is around there.
No, I think he left.
He left. Okay.
Also.
Might be on the coming 2
So
to 3
what?
days. ఒక ఇంకొక ముగ్గురు నలుగురు యాడ్ అవుతుండొచ్చు. Right now
Okay.
we had only 5 people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have any other classes rather than this online, like అంటే మీరు వచ్చి క్లాస్ కి చెప్తారా లేకపోతే ఇంకా ఆన్లైన్ అయినా?
No, I'll make it completely through online, and we'll record every sessions, and I'll share the sessions to you through YouTube. I'll keep the sessions. We'll have a channel on the YouTube. I'll keep the session and I'll share not publicly. I'll share private to your mail IDs. So until
Okay.
unless you log in via your
Okay.
email ID on the YouTube, then only you can view these classes. Okay? మీరు మిస్ అయిన
Okay.
క్లాస్ మిస్ అయినా, or if you had any doubts, you can review these classes.
Okay. Okay. Okay then. I need to leave now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu, Raghava, and Shekhar. We'll end this session. Okay? Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll meet at same time at 9 o'clock. Okay? I'll send an invitation. It's been an 1.5 hour. Already half an hour later waste అయింది for resolving this connectivity problem for the first time, right? Might be someone is new to this GoToMeeting app applications. Okay, thank you.